The Crypto Markets Update is brought to you by KuCoin, the best place to find the next crypto gem.
And yes, indeed, joining us now to discuss the crypto markets is Matthew Tuttle. He's CEO and CIO of Tuttle Capital Management. Let's be a family thing. Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm good.
So as I mentioned at the start, it seems at least for now we've run out of sellers. Do you think that that's going to continue? Do you think that we've exhausted all the sellers we possibly could, or are there still a few left to get out of the market here now that we're back at 21 and we're saying, you know what, this is probably the best we're going to get. Might as well cash out now before it's too late.
Yeah, so, continued kind of depends on your time frame. Certainly, Bitcoin is in a bear market. And so, by definition, I don't think you've exhausted all the sellers. Short term, you may very well have. What happened over the weekend was, for lack of a better way to describe it, breathtaking. And, the fact that, now we're back, above, at least right now, 21,000, short term, I think, yeah, you might have exhausted the sellers. This could be a short-term bounce. Longer term, I'd be concerned that there could be some more selling out there.
So, Matthew, the question on everyone's mind, where do you see the bottom? At what level does that happen? And, how long does this last?
So, levels with Bitcoin are tough. Unlike a stock that at least has some sort of intrinsic value that you can point to as a multiple of, something, you can't really point to that with Bitcoin. But it is, as we've seen, a risk-on asset, which means it's tied to the sentiment that we've got in the stock market. And right now, the sentiment in the stock market really stinks. And, stocks are in a bear market. I can't imagine Bitcoin getting back up to 60,000 while stocks are still being sold. So, I think you've still got some time and you've still got a bottoming process, unfortunately.
So as Bitcoin has become this risk-on asset, where does it serve in a portfolio? What kind of position does it serve then? Is it it's not an inflation hedge, right? Because we're seeing obviously high inflation numbers and Bitcoin crash. It's not an alternative to gold necessarily in that case. But it seems to be almost like a leveraged version of tech stocks. Is that kind of where that is right now?
Right now, that's where we're seeing it. It's just another, risk-on asset along with, the speculative technology stocks and things of that nature. The biggest difference being that, you can trade it over the weekend and, at times when you can't trade some of these tech stocks. So there are some maybe structural advantages there. To someone who wants to actively trade it. But right now, yeah, I'd throw it into the same bucket as some of those more speculative areas of the stock market. That may change. And, at some point, maybe it's an inflation hedge, a gold alternative, a dollar alternative. But right now, the negative sentiment in the market is dwarfing everything.
Matthew, I'm wondering if you could comment on NFTs. Right now in New York, we have a big conference happening, NFT NYC. A lot of folks are really excited about the metaverse, but is it still a very speculative investment? Or, according to these people, it's something that is being built and will gain stability in time?
So I think tokenization is the future of a lot of things, where I also think blockchain is the future of a lot of things. But we're nowhere near there yet. There's going to be a lot of turmoil as we kind of move towards that. So, you're going to see a lot of stuff go to zero. So, yeah, I think it is something that's extremely speculative. I think it's something that you've got to monitor, just like Bitcoin or any crypto, your position size. And you've got to have really, really good risk management if it's something you're going to wade into.
So obviously, I would, it'd be safe to say that you're a long-term bull in crypto and particularly Bitcoin. So looking at the charts, looking at price action over the past few days and weeks, where do you see is the best point right now to get in if you are so inclined to be long?
So right now, if you look at what happened over the weekend, we had what we call an undercut and rally pattern, where you undercut a significant low and then rally back above that low. So, if someone wanted to place a counter trend trade here using that $20,000 level as a stop, I wouldn't argue with something like that. I would be very cautious about, owning Bitcoin while I was asleep. But, if I'm sitting here watching it using that $20,000 level, that's something I'd be somewhat comfortable with. Again, with the right position sizing.
Matthew, Proshares is launching a short Bitcoin ETF this week. The timing seems to be optimal. Is that a good strategy to take in these markets?
So it's another tool. The problem we've got with the long and the short Bitcoin ETFs right now is they're futures based. They're not based on spot. The SEC is not willing, at least yet, to do spot Bitcoin. So, if you are someone who's way more comfortable buying and selling ETFs and you want to express a negative view on Bitcoin, then, it's great. You've got a tool to do it. It's not an optimal tool. Hopefully one day, we'll have spot Bitcoin ETFs. You have them everywhere else. We've talked to the SEC about this issue as well. And, we're trying to do some things in that regard, but, haven't been able, obviously, to get that off the ground yet.